Hello, wonderful learners, and a very warm welcome back to the English Story Nook. We are so happy to have you with us today. Today, we're diving into a story about a woman who finds herself at a crossroads. Her life is comfortable and predictable, but she starts to wonder if that is truly enough. Get ready to discover a powerful story about the journey of looking within, questioning the path you are on, and finding the strength to change your life. Before we dive in, if you enjoy our stories and want to support what we do, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and consider buying us a coffee on Ko-fi. There's a link in the description below. Every like, subscription, and small contribution helps us keep creating great content for English learners like you. And now to the story. I Tangled Hearts on the Tube. The screech of the Jubilee line train pulling into Canary Wharf was the daily soundtrack to Ora Krynick's life, a metallic punctuation mark on an existence that felt increasingly prosaic. For 7 years, her world had orbited Jeremy Patel, a man whose love was as steady and reliable as the city's transport system. Their life together was a comfortable tapestry woven with shared jokes and quiet evenings. Yet lately, Ora had begun to notice the threads were fraying, the colors fading. Their relationship, once vibrant, had become ossified, a beautiful fossil of what it once was. She loved him, of that she was certain, but the routine felt like a gilded cage she had helped construct. One Tuesday, wedged between a tourist with an oversized backpack and a banker glued to his phone, a voice cut through the din. "That's a formidable-looking book." Ora looked up from her novel into the eyes of Alex Ganju. He had a smile that seemed to generate its own light in the subterranean gloom. The ensuing conversation was a whirlwind of wit and shared literary passions, a brief, sparkling interlude that ended all too soon at his stop. Before the doors slid shut, he pressed a business card into her hand. "In case you ever want to debate the author's questionable character arcs," he'd said with a wink. The card felt like a small, dangerous weight in her palm. For days, it sat on her nightstand, a silent challenge to the prosaic rhythm of her life. After a particularly quiet dinner with Jeremy, where the silence was filled only by the clinking of cutlery, she succumbed. It was just a coffee, she reasoned. A networking opportunity, a harmless act of defiance. The coffee was anything but harmless. It was a revelation. Alex worked in sustainable technology at a firm called Quenyalasi Dynamics, and he spoke about his job with a passion that made Ora's own marketing role feel hollow. A frisson of excitement, sharp and unfamiliar, coursed through her as he listened, truly listened, to her half-formed ideas about career changes. He made her feel seen, not as one half of a couple, but as a singular, fascinating entity. The guilt that followed was immediate and sharp, a bitter chaser to the exhilarating high of their meeting. That evening, Jeremy's familiar presence felt like both a comfort and a reproach. Their meetings became a regular occurrence, cloaked in the plausible deniability of professional collaboration. This elaborate subterfuge was exhausting. With every shared joke and late-night brainstorming session, Ora felt more like a charlatan, performing the role of the devoted partner at home, while her emotional world was being redrawn elsewhere. The duplicity was an insidious poison, seeping into every corner of her life. She'd catch her reflection and not recognize the woman staring back, a person whose life was bifurcated by secrets. The strain of this double life, of the constant vigilance, was becoming untenable. The situation reached a tipping point when Jeremy, perhaps sensing the growing chasm between them, planned a surprise anniversary trip to a boutique hotel in the Cotswolds. He spoke of their future with a tender certainty that made Ora's stomach clench. 7 years, Ora. I was thinking, maybe it's time we started looking at houses for real this time. His words, meant to be a promise of a shared future, felt like the final turn of a key in a lock. The sheer decency of his love, his unwavering loyalty, threw her own actions into stark relief. Her betrayal, her emotional perfidy, was a heavy cloak she couldn't shrug off. How could she stand by and let him plan a future with a charlatan? The guilt was no longer a quiet hum. It was a deafening roar. The weekend was a masterpiece of strained pleasantries. Aura tried to be present, to recapture the easy intimacy they once shared. But her mind was a cacophony of conflicting loyalties and desires. The truth, as it often does, emerged from the cold blue light of a phone screen. While Aura was in the shower, a message from Alex flashed on her phone. "Still thinking about your idea. You have a truly perspicacious mind." It was innocent enough, yet it was the key that unlocked everything. Jeremy didn't shout. His voice, when he confronted her, was quiet, hollowed out by a pain that was far worse than anger. "Who is he, Aura?" The question hung in the air, thick and suffocating. She had no answer, only a profound, gut-wrenching shame. Her position was utterly untenable. Back in London, the city felt gray and hostile. She met Alex at a small park, the stage for her final, necessary act of contrition. She had to end this, to try and piece back the life she had so carelessly fractured. As she stumbled through her explanation, bracing for anger or persuasion, Alex surprised her. He was calm, his gaze steady and unnervingly clear. "This isn't about me, is it?" he said, his voice gentle. "Or Jeremy, not really. It seems you're not choosing between two men. You're choosing between the person you've been and the person you're becoming." His perspicacious words struck her with the force of a physical blow. He was right. For years, she had allowed her own ambitions and sense of self to be subjugated by the comfort and security of her relationship. The affair wasn't the disease, it was a symptom of a deeper malaise. The insidious creep of complacency had finally caught up with her. The conversation with Jeremy was the hardest of her life. There were tears and long, aching silences. She explained, as best she could, that their beautiful, safe relationship had become a place where she could no longer grow. "I have to find out who I am without you," she whispered, the words tasting like ash. It was a brutal act, but it was an honest one, a necessary surgery to prevent a slower, more painful decay. Her perfidy had forced a crisis, but from the wreckage, a difficult truth emerged. She had to face the vicissitudes of life on her own. She also told Alex she needed space, a true period of solitude to untangle the knots within herself. He simply nodded, understanding without needing further explanation. A few weeks later, Aura was back on the Jubilee line. The screech of the train was the same, but she was different. She wasn't escaping into a book or scanning the crowd for a handsome stranger. Her gaze was fixed on her own reflection in the dark glass of the window. The woman looking back was uncertain, anxious, and marked by the vicissitudes of her recent choices. There was a frisson of fear, but beneath it, something new, a quiet, thrilling sense of possibility. She had subjugated her own identity for too long. The journey ahead was unknown, a stark contrast to the predictable path she had been on. The silence in her life was no longer empty. It was a space waiting to be filled, a quiet that was no longer a cacophony of guilt, but the sound of a blank page. That's the end of our story for today. It was a thought-provoking journey about listening to your own heart and finding the courage to change. Have you ever had a moment that made you look at your life in a completely new way? We would love to hear about your experiences in the comments. And don't forget, you can find extra learning materials in the description box below to help you practice. Thank you for joining us at the English Story Nook. Keep practicing, stay curious, and we look forward to seeing you in our next video. Happy learning and goodbye for now.